I'm a World War II, but I was a kid during the World War II.
Yeah.
I actually didn't fight in the World War II. So, but I did experience terrible things during the World War II. Watching how those guys were flying by and dying in front of my eyes. So,
I guess.
my dad and I were trying to rescue. Some of them, they were being shot down. And that's the whole story. That's the interesting story. When you met those guys, they were completely hurt and they were scared. So we hide them in the woods and finally get them to freedom a few years later.
Yeah.
All right. My name is Corneliu Iliescu, and I'm 74 years old. I was born and raised in Romania, a country where was very important during the World War II for the oil. So my dad was working on an oil refinery that the Germans had control on it because they have 60% of the oil that were going to the war machine. So somehow somebody was going to put a stop to this so it can shrink the war. So my dad has to do something to protect his family. So the bunkers and everything else in the capital that I used to live and grow up was too busy. Everybody was running and there was no place. Sometimes you find the door closed because it was packed with people, those bunkers. Actually started back in 1943, August 1st, 1943, when the United States sent 177 airplanes on the low level. They called the low level mission to Ploiești. Europe was completely occupied by Germans, so they cannot penetrate into Romania. So they have to go all the way to northern Africa and Benghazi. So they have an airport there in the desert. Was very difficult, very tough to fly from that sand all the way 3,000-mile round trip with the heavy bombers, B-24. Some of them they have to remove tanks to put more bombs to it. Because they fly a low level, it's about like sometime 50 feet above the ground. How you gonna use a parachute 50 feet above the ground? If no way, it's impossible. So they didn't want anything. So actually it was a suicidal mission. Many of them, they get on board, they start throwing up. They have different kind of syndromes that knowing that they will never come. So they would tell them they were only between 17 and 24 years old. Officers, they were older. The regular enlisted men, they were just probably very young. The machine gun and all the control guys that was doing the mechanical stuff, they were all very young kids. So they told them, I said, it's a 50-50, you might come back. So 50-50, that's a lot. That's a lot. You know you're not going to come back. You know that somehow you're going to die. And pieces blowing up in the air, God knows. Or you just go down the plane knowing that any second from now on you're going to be gone. So that's terrible for a young kid to learn that. So what they did, they give him a real food because everything was substitute all the time. But this time, because they knew they're not coming back, they give him real eggs and real bacons and everything was real food. So when you eat a real food in a war, you know that that's a real McCoy. So something that it's really bad. So when they're going to the capital was a freight train with boxes. So when they come close 50 feet above the ground, the boxes open and they have 20mm machine gun Germans on those trains and they're shooting down like a sitting ducks. So here you go, flying by, and you see how your body here is just going in flame, going down, hitting the ground. It is another one, it is another. Now you wait for your turn to be hit and killed. Some of them, they will be hit like you co-pilot, when your pilot is hit and you are in control of that. You see blood all over the place in the cabin and all those plexiglass windows, and you have to kind of wipe the blood so you can see through, so you see where you're going. This is something that was real. This is not a movie. This is what happened. This is drive your car, you can find body parts everywhere in that time. And all those between 40, because there was not too many people around to go and pick up all those body parts. The airplanes exploded up in the air, 17 B-24. There were dogfights with the Mustangs, because the Mustang later during the war, they were protecting the B-24. The first raid in August 1st, there was no protection. They have to protect themselves, whatever they have on board, with the 50 caliber machine guns, and that's about it. They have tail gunners, waist gunners, and then the nose, and the turret, one on the top, one on the bottom. But the MU-109, 1944, the bombing right now was just getting like once a week, was no more like every day. So my dad says, maybe we can go have a trip to the capital, 20 minutes distance, and see if our home has been bombed. So we're trying to travel to the gravel roads and stuff like that, trying to get to the highway. By the time, or silver. So they go 30 to 40,000 feet, was a freezing temperature. So they have to wear, I'm going to show you some clothes like those leather jackets, very heavy, because you almost freeze to death up there because you have no windows. There's no like over here cabins with the seals, so you can, go high altitude. The more you can go was about 32, 35, maximum 35. That's it. You go way below freezing temperature. So they have a special jumpsuits made of leather, that sheepskin, that they have wires inside that keep them warm, electric wires. So imagine to fight in that condition, so heavy, to move your machine gun and go look for the target and protect yourself. So it was not that easy task. But anyway, at that day, when we saw the bombers coming, then we have to turn around. So we turn around. By the time we turn around, on the side of the highway was a huge cornfield. And one of the bombers was going down, and hit the ground. Hit the ground with no landing gears, on his own belly. And when he hit the ground, my dad says, well, let's see if maybe we can rescue those guys. He used to it without me, to stop every time that you see a bombing, one of those B-24 hitting the ground or a parachute going down. You're trying to go and help him and hide him from the German hands. He didn't know. What happened is that the bomber crashed. My dad went in there. The bomb bay door goes underneath the bomber. So one of those bomb bay doors was completely torn. The other was gone. So he went underneath there. That was the only way to get on the airplane and see all those bodies all over, and he started dragging some bodies out of the B-24. So he saw two of them, they were alive, and the other one was just jamming over there. So he get the other one too. So he got 3 bodies on his hand, but he already about 20 minutes now. He knew that the Germans knew the plane crashed, so they're going to cut him. So we hide him behind the woods, and then he said, well, I have no time. You stay here with them. If I'm not coming back, you go get your uncle and come over and take him to the first aid. Was there some sort of a infirmary close by that protects people from getting shrapnels or wounded from the war? And it was kind of not a hospital, but at least you have some sort of a medical attention. So I was so excited when I was there, and I forgot what my dad told me. And one of the guys held me in his arms and talked to me, gave me a little pencil to play with that. And another guy gave me a plier. This plier come from one of the crew members. Give it to me to play with it. I was just a kid. To distract me not to go after my dad, because by going after my dad, I will bring the Germans over, so they're going to capture them. I said, you guys stay here. Somehow we communicate. We didn't speak the language, but with signs language and stuff like that, we communicate with this 6-year-old boy. And I went to get my uncle, come back half an hour later. I couldn't see them anymore. I lost them. But one of the guys whistled to me, and I look around. They were under the little creek under the bridge. So we went there, and I said, no, my uncle, but that's a Romanian. Didn't understand too much, but he trusts me now because what my dad did. He realized that I was my dad. So they come with me, with my dad, with my uncle, and we went to this place. There was a military police there, and was like a medical assistant. So they patch them up, they clean their burns, they cut their pants, there were a lot of burns, a lot of injury, bleeding and stuff. So they got them, fixed them up, and that's the way they turned to be a POWs. So they turned to be a POW. They went to the POW camp, and somehow about 8 months later, late 44, the beginning of 45, the war ended. So my dad and I went to Bucharest downtown and met them and give them the last shake hands and hug and stuff, and took pictures with them. And that's what the story started with me when I became so friendly toward to Americans, and I dreamed to be an American kid for the rest of my life. The Hershey chocolate baptized me, and because they said from now on you're going to be American because you saved our lives. So I want to thank you. So that was going to another translator that was speaking French, but he understood English too. So he told my dad those words, and I used to remember those words for the rest of my life. My dad passed away in 74 in Romania. My mother came to this country with my brother, and I have my whole family here. And I just thought I dedicate my life to the American vets ever since. And I call these three guys my guardian angels because they guide me to be a free man in the best country on the planet. I came to California in 73. I get married here. I got 2 boys. I started when I said I want to dedicate my life to the veterans. So I create a foundation called a Noble Cause. The Noble Cause stands to protect and preserve the legacy of the greater generation. And hire an architect to design a monument for the 3,000 airmen that lost their life. They call missing in action. So you can see it over there. It's a wall that's going to be the 3,000 men, and it's going to be alleys with bricks for the one that survived the mission, and those bricks are going to cost probably $150 a piece. So that contribute to the construction of the monument. So that's my dream, to pay tribute to the veterans, and not to the actually the veterans, to the one that, in other words, they couldn't find their bodies. Was nothing to be found, so they died in vain because was no recognition. For the ones they found the bodies dead next to the plane, they were being buried in a cemetery that I used to go when I was a kid and put flowers on my dad. And that's my dream. So I'm still working here in my shop, which I built this shop since 1979. So it's 33 years I'm over here in this shop, and I converted it to a little World War II museum. I have over here in the office called Second Air Division that used to be in England. This is my goal, to support the greater generation, so I can display those vehicles to the children in school and talk about the bravery of the greater generation and teach them about that freedom. It's not a free lunch. So even today we have our kids, they're dying for our freedom. So that's something very interesting to teach our kids, that since the beginning of this country we have tears, and we have tears because we have the best country on the planet. That's why everybody wants to come here. Nobody wants to leave, no matter how bad it is over here. So I want to thank you guys for coming in and interviewing me and allowing me to express my devotion to the World War II veterans and my attachment to the greater generation. So thank you very much. God bless you all. God bless the great country of the United States. Thank you.